Hello, everybody. Uh, Welcome to another Mooncolony live stream. It's nice to see everybody. I've got Joris with us here today. Hello, Joris. How's it going?
Hello, good to be here, as usual.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you. I know how much you love it on here. Um,
Yeah.
so we've grabbed Joris today to do some art critiques taken from the submissions on our Discord. There are a lot of interesting submissions this time. You know, a lot of good work, but we don't have as much to say about others as we do about these, so we had to pick sparingly. But if you didn't get in this time, then don't worry. There's always next time. But hello, hi Ignacio, hi Jenny, hi Mr. Kent, hi Underraven. Nice to see you all. But without further ado, I mean, I'll pass it over to Joris. Who have we got? Who have we got first up?
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. I only picked 3 artists, but if we get some time left, I always like pick other artists as well.
Freestyle at the end.
Yeah. So for the first artist, I'm terrible with pronouncing names, so I hope I won't offend anyone tonight or this evening. So the first one is Keep It Easy, Ha, because that's the name you used as well on Discord.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned critique sessions, but we can also call it like appraisal sessions. It doesn't always have to be critique.
Yeah, that's true.
I picked this one because first off, I think it already shows a lot like good things as well. I really like the images being painted. The render style is very nice. Let me zoom in because let me see like just a small detail here. If you want to see high res, I think it's also on our Discord channel.
Yeah.
First things first. What I want to say is like this piece is already a very great piece on its own. Although I saw that the artist wanted to create a splash art type of illustration. Remember that these splash arts are most of the time meant to tell the story about the character, but not only the story, but also like the game's mechanic, because what the purpose of this image is basically to sell the image to the players, sell the character to the player, and you only, as an artist, you only have one image to tell that whole story. And how can we tell this story? We can do that by, for example, by choosing the right camera angle, because as you are the artist, so you're basically the director of this piece. But not only the camera angle, but also like the lighting setting that you pick for this one. Other things that are super important, which we'll cover as well later on, is proportions and the likeness of the actual character. So we have to make sure that if you represent the character in your splash art, that the character looks like the actual 3D model. So it doesn't, how can I say it, like there's so much more than just like having a character that is wearing the same clothing. It needs to have like the same facial features, needs to have the same anatomical proportions and all.
Sure.
So that's something to keep in mind. There's a lot to keep in mind when you're doing splash art. It's one of the most difficult illustrations. It's a cool thing. It's a very good thing that you do this as a practice. The more you do it, the better you'll become. It's also very important to study and see what other splash artists are doing. So yeah, let's talk first about the proportions and likeness of the characters. So on its own, as an illustration, if I didn't know the character, I would say it's a super nice, beautiful, well-drawn character. I also like the Asian style to it. But if we look back to the actual game model, notice that the proportions are very game-like. I don't know, like also very Asian. I think smaller heads, which is cool. But it's super important that if you create a splash art for any, even if it's fan art, it's important that you also show the likeness of these characters. So in this one, we see like, how old can this character be? Maybe like in his end 20s.
Yeah, I was gonna say like mid to late 20s, I guess.
20s maybe. Um, so and still looks very masculine. Like we see like the sharp cheekbones there,
Yeah.
the smaller nose, the smaller eyes as well. While in this one looks maybe a little bit too young. Maybe it could be the younger version of the character. I don't know. Everyone was a teenager once. So, but mention that in your fan art maybe. But I guess that was not the idea, the intention of the artist. So for this one, super important that we kind of tweak a little bit the poses. There are also other things, like I mentioned, like the camera angle you pick. It took me a while to notice that this was a giant because he used a very, how do you call this, like a frontal camera angle, which makes the character look very small because we as a viewer, we see the image through our eyes. So that means that we are at least the same height, that we have the same height as this character. So what you can do is like search up references on you will notice like for most of the time artists will pick like a very frog perspective like camera angle because it makes you feel super small, because if you're a human you would look up to a giant, you would look up, and these are things that really can help telling that story, like, oh, this guy is a deity, this guy is a god, he's big, he's massive. Going with the camera angle that helps you telling that story that this character is a giant is super important as well. So next time, of course, we cannot do that because that means that we have to redo the whole illustration, and I think that's not the idea of this thing. It's just more like tips and tricks of what we can do to enhance this illustration. But or maybe challenge yourself, start from scratch, and go maybe with a more camera angle that suits and matches with these giants. Another thing is lighting. What also helps most of the time is like if you want to portray a giant or like a deity, have the sun behind them, because the character, like the giant itself, is blocking the sun. It's like a massive, so it's a massive creature or entity. These are things that really can help making this character look gigantic. Like this one, for example. It doesn't always have to. You have to bear in mind, like if you do professional work, the idea is that you first off, you will have to propose a client at least like 3 composition sketches where you explore different camera angles, but also different lighting proposals. I just mentioned like having the sun behind it, but it can be others as well. Like maybe like in this example, in this illustration, for example, the character is outside of the frame. It doesn't mean that the sun is outside of the frame. Doesn't mean that the sun needs to be in the frame all the time. That's the moment when you as an artist experiment with lighting and figure out what lighting works the best for this character. This one works. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Having some sort of like a sunrise helps to tell a story as well. So it's an okay lighting in this instance. But what can we do for now? I noticed that the mask is. It took me a while to see that. I actually had to search up references of this character to realize that the mask was belonging to the character and had a purpose. It's probably game play related. So make sure that the character also interacts with the mask, because now the mask, it's a super cool asset in your illustration, but just floating around. Is it part of the environment or does it belong to the character? You don't really know right now. So maybe what we can do is search up references, see how the mask interacts with the character. In this case, the mask is floating over his hand. It's almost like it's magical. It's part of the character, so maybe it's something that we can do as well. We'll do a paint over. Another thing, if this guy is is massive, what we can add is maybe some more scale references. It's cliche, but it works most of the time. It's like adding little birds, there. Maybe more clouds, maybe overlapping him, like I did over here very quickly. And to come back to your camera angle, currently maybe it's a little bit too dynamic. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to make the image dynamic because dynamic images are important. Compositions are important for splash art. But in this case, the super tilted angle doesn't really work. It works most of the time more with, how do you say it, like with like action poses and action scenes, because it makes you feel uneasy, like there's something going on. The camera is tilted, so there's some action going on. And in this case, the character is just standing very static and peaceful in this environment. So you can still have a little bit of a tilt going on to make it look visually more interesting, but I wouldn't go that extreme, to be honest. The pose, the scale. What we can do as well to make him look a little bit more bigger is to play a little bit more with atmospheric fog, like place him more in the back, like the further away he is, the less contrast the character has. So reducing the contrast, adding some atmospheric fog there also helps really pushing this character more towards the back. This is super important when you create splash art, is showing the game's mechanic of the character. What does the character do in the game? So a little bit of research is important, and try to find a pose that really tells what he's doing. I'm not sure of the character in the game. Now what it tells us is that the character is a very calm character and doesn't like to fight, and I'm pretty sure this character is a badass, has a lot of power there, and a lot of crazy effects, fighting moves or whatever. So use that opportunity to show that in your image, because it's a huge part of the character, especially with these MOBA type of games. It's all about their strength, their fighting techniques, and so it's very important that we also sell that in that image. It doesn't always have to be, but it's ideal. It's the ideal thing to do actually when you do a splash art. Unless it's a key art, like for this, in this case, in this instance, this is like more of a key art. It's not really a splash art meant to have in the game. I think it's more like they are announcing the character rather than the character and all its might and power. Let me see. I think those were the only things I actually could come up with. Maybe another thing I noticed I really like, I love actually the stylization of the trees. But if you do that, you have to make sure that these match with the game. If we look back to references from this character, it seems that the trees and also the trees in the games are not that stylized, not that graphical. So make sure that if you're choosing a style, make sure that the style also matches with the one from the game itself.
I was going to say as well about the trees is that I didn't even realize they were supposed to be trees for a while. I thought they were like, it kind of goes back to showing the scale of the character as well. Having the trees, they look cool, but to me they looked more like shrubs or like little plants. I think because they were so stylized. But
then if we go with a stylization with that level, we have to like apply it on everything, also the character and all. Then maybe it works. But then we don't have a splash art that could work in the game. But that's basically it. So for this one, what we can do with the current image is, just to recap, is trying to get the proportions on model with those from the game. And then maybe have that mask in the scene, like have it somewhere like closer to the character, like have the character interact with it, so it belongs to the character and not to the environment. Add an atmospheric fog just to push the character more towards the back. Have some clouds overlapping the character as well, and some cute little birds, and that's about it.
Cool. No, thank you very much. I mean, that was there was a lot there, and I think it was all really useful. I'm not sure if Hat is in the chat, but if you are in the chat, then I hope you found that useful. And if you have any questions or anything, then feel free to ask. But if not, then I'll send them the video afterwards, and they can take a look.
We'll also share maybe the PSD or a JPEG like before and after. It's mainly about like fixing the proportions more than anything else. Yeah, cool stuff. Nice.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. So next up is Shadows. So if you're here, Shadow, then say hi. I know Shadow said they were gonna come and watch. So if you're here, say hi, and once again, feel free to ask any questions. Yeah, they're in the chat. Hello. So Shadow said that they were gonna they're recreating a deck of tarot cards, which is very impressive. That's a lot to take on. Good luck. They're currently doing the death card. They want it to look more virtuous and purposeful, but they're struggling to fit it in with the rest of the set, like the Hanged Man that you've got there as well.
Alrighty, cool. Before we go into art direction, but I'm pretty sure the artist already does that, is when you do a recreation of the tarot cards, these are super symbolic, so we have to make sure that all the symbolism from the original cards are also included in the actual card that you have over here. Because what I noticed, after searching for some references, because I don't know so much about tarot cards, to be honest, like my wife is more into that thing. But I was searching some references and I stumbled upon some things, and actually this one is a very interesting one. It's explaining all the symbolism there and what it means. And for example, cool. What we're missing in this one is the sun. The thing is with this, the card stands for death, but actually what it stands for is rebirth after death. So it's more about rebirth than actually the death in itself. Although we see death everywhere, but we see also a new beginning in life in the scene. Like for example, we see the aftermath of a battlefield. So we see corpses, which stands for death. But then we've got the sunrise in the back, which is coming back in almost all of these tarot cards, like different styles of tarot cards, and that stands for new beginning. You've got sun over here, but I think maybe it's a good idea to make that more obvious. We can come do that once we go into the art direction of this one, but just make sure because I love the idea of having your own version of the tarot card, especially the style of Quinn too. Yeah, super nice. It's cool, to see a modern interpretation of these.
I was going to say I've got
more, and if you're done with the deck, I would love to buy it. To be honest, I would love to have this deck.
Yeah, I was going to say I've got a box of the classic original Rider-Waite tarot cards.
Maybe that's a cool idea. I noticed maybe it has a very important meaning in the tarot card deck, but I noticed that the color yellow is always coming back in each card. So maybe do some research. Maybe it has a meaning. I don't know. But if you can have that as well in your deck, like something that looks like a small detail is coming back in each card, that might be cool. But now to come back to the real question, it's how can we create more consistency between the one on the right and the new one on the left, which you have trouble creating consistency or having trouble trying to match with the art style of the right one. So the first thing I notice is that both images are super nice. It's very well drawn. The design of the horse is super awesome, badass. Even the design of the skeleton, Death himself, it's super awesome. Super well painted, all of these, while going with an extreme extreme camera angle, for shortening like this. It's very challenging, and you nailed it, so it's super cool. And yeah, I've got some Gwent vibe here, so it's awesome as well. But what I noticed, the right one is super vibrant in colors. That's the first thing I noticed, where we maybe can already create consistency. While on the left one, it's almost monotone, almost like grayscale with some subtle colors, which is cool, but that makes it already look very different from each other. Then of course the camera angle. One's super dynamic, the other one's like very static. It's fine. I think in Gwent it's the same thing. You have some more dynamic illustrations and the others are more static. I guess that's fine. But that's also like a reason why this one looks different from the other. And then at last, it's more about the style itself, the render style. The one you did for Gwent, like in the Gwent style, is super detailed. Like you see, like the moss on the tree. You see the grass is super well polished as well, super detailed. Even the hair is, it has similar treatment, but the hair here is more detailed as well. So that's cool that you keep the style consistent. Keep doing that. It's super like the wavy style. That's awesome. But the one on the left, the render style reminds me, which is also super awesome though. Reminds me of Lion Dicker. I don't know if you know the mid-century illustrator.
I'll look him up and send a link if you like, if you want to carry on.
I can actually drag and drop. It's this. You see it? I'm sharing my.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has like this very hard-edged. See if I can open an image. I don't know. It's hard to explain the art style of this guy. Like he's painting the values, like it's almost hard-edged, you know.
Yeah, Shadow said that they're very inspired by him.
Yeah, that's cool. But then I would also apply that one on the other one. It's either keep this unique touch in all of your cards and apply it on the one that you already did before, or applying the style, the more Gwent render style, like detailed style to your last one, the character.
They've also said that they stopped rendering the death cart currently. They felt that their planning fell flat and maybe they need to move the camera angle, which I know is what you mentioned a second ago, but that was cool.
You can do that, but you can do that, of course, if you want to try out. I mean, this is your personal work, so whatever you think is the best you can do. Although I think it's already a very beautiful illustration, and honestly, like the frontal camera angle helps really with telling that story. You know, it's not a very dynamic scene; it's a very calm, serene scene. So going with that frontal really helps as well. You know, but yeah, I think if you can. It's very simple. It's more about like treating the foreground the same, detail more, add more color to the scene. It's a sunset, so this a sunrise. We don't have space, unfortunately. I mean, the right side of the image could have been an amazing place to add the sun here, but then that means that you also have to redraw the whole thing because now the characters are lit on the left. But I think already like. Changing the colors more towards that sunrise warm vibe really helps. The field, with the grassy field, battlefields are not always held in like muddy places. They became muddy, maybe of course, but I don't know. Maybe for storytelling, you can like maybe have more of like a clean vibe, you know, like a nature vibe. Maybe the background here can be more muddy and like battlefield like, and the foreground can be maybe be more, I don't know, clean and like nothing happened, you know. That's maybe a cool idea also for the rebirth, you know. There's hope, new beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Maybe like. I would still add the battlefield there, if possible. If you want to, if you really want to stay close to the original tarot cards, maybe here in the back would be a cool idea. The sun, the sun. I did it over here, but it also means that you will have to repaint a little bit the sky. Might be cool to experiment with that one. There's some clouds, a darker sky maybe, and that gives us a nice contrast with the sun, so the sun really pops. Maybe I don't know, maybe work with some graphical elements there. Maybe combine like very well rendered a rendered style with some graphical elements. Maybe I don't know. Just experiment with that. It's your personal project, or keep it more rendered like Gwent. It's fine. But yeah, that's I think the only thing that you can do to create more consistency between the both pieces. Yeah, maybe create a little bit more contrast between the skeleton's face and the black armor, because now currently it's blending too much with the armor. Other than that, no, nice work, really great job on this one. Great job on the design of the horse as well.
Yeah. No, I like this one too. I think it's really nice, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the deck as well when it eventually comes around.
How many cards are there in that deck?
Isn't it? It's like 20. It's like 21 major arcana, which are like the Hanged Man and stuff like that, I think. So
21. Okay.
I think it's 21.
Yeah, so that's like 18 more, 19 more illustrations to go.
Oh, okay. Oh, Shadow's just doing these two. They've been doing.
Come on! No.
You gotta do the rest.
Start your own project.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Really, you should.
You've got 2 customers right here.
Yeah. Well, how much you will ask for this?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic work, really. I'm really looking forward to see like the next ones or the improvements on the one that you're currently working on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Shall we go to the next one, or any more questions?
Yeah, Shadow, have you got any more questions or anything, or are you feeling good, ready to take it on yourself? Let's give her a second. Oh, they are doing the entire deck, but they just have these 2. Good. But it looks like we might be good to go.
Right. Well, you can always ask questions in our Discord channel. Right, nice. The next one.
Yes. So, the next one is it Gabrielle or Gabriel? I always yeah. I always struggle with that, but I'm very sorry. They were saying this was a competition entry for I didn't write it down. What was the theme? The theme was Under Strange Suns. They want to improve it. They feel like it's quite boring and could be rendered a bit better, but they hit a wall. They're not sure how to go any further with it. They would appreciate any feedback you've got, and they are in the chat. Hello.
Right, cool. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, first off, what I really like about this piece is the idea, the concept behind the building. Having like a massive magnifying glass, powering a massive forge.
Yeah,
it's yeah, I love the idea, and I think it's a cool idea to work on, work further on. And let's see what we can do to improve not only the image, but also the design later on. So yeah, where shall we start? What can we do to pimp this one up? So first things first, I think what I really liked about this one as well is that the artist really pushed the atmospheric perspective. So the background, he used color tones there. There's less contrast in those back mountains. It's very fantastic as well. But usually in any image, if it's a photograph or an illustration, there's also a foreground. So currently there's only a middle ground, which is your building, which reads maybe a little bit more as a foreground. But I'll come back to that one later on. So having like 3 clear perspective planes really helps with pushing that. perspective. When I say perspective planes, it's like a foreground, middle ground, and background.
Mm-hmm.
Foreground, everything in the foreground has the most contrast, and of course we artists like to cheat a lot, so we tend to make things in the foreground darker and black, like not black, but like something like we see over here. We use actually the foreground most of the time to frame in the image. As you can see over here, the artist was super creative, using like the tunnel where the vehicles are driving into as a framing of the illustration. Over here, the artist is using a cast shadow, maybe by a mountain behind that we cannot see, but he's using that foreground, that dark foreground, in our advantage to push a little bit more that plane, and also it helps with guiding the eyes towards what's important. And here, of course, it's the city, and here as well. Unlike with photographs, there's nothing in a photograph, so here it's just like the foreground is as important as the middle ground, is as important as the background in the sky, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
But you're creating a concept art piece, well, rather, or an illustration, so you really want to use your foreground in your advantage to really push, really centerize your building over here. So that's maybe one thing that we can start doing. And it's also like important that you use references, especially in the beginning when you don't have that, like how do you call it, like photographic library and knowledge of colors. Really use every piece that you're making, especially in the beginning of your career. Let's also use it as a study opportunity. So using direct references and try to get really inspired by that piece can really help. So what I did first was a very quick, I didn't have much time, but to be honest, like if your PSD was clean, it's super easy to change the colors and the contrast. And also, don't be afraid of photo bashing. If this is a concept art piece, it's totally fine to photo bash. Just make sure to use your own photos or photos that you can use for free, from a photo library. Because most of the photos you find on the internet are copyrighted, so you don't want to end up in a. Well, I'm pretty sure that if you use your images for personal usage, as long as you don't make money from it, it's fine, I guess. From the moment that you start like making money from your images, or I don't know, maybe you're selling your work somewhere online on ArtStation, I don't know. Just make sure that every material that you use is yours.
Yeah.
Or one that's legal to use. Let me see. So actually this one was just a quick test idea, but it doesn't mean that you have to go with this one. But so yeah, I was trying to copy. I found this image online, and what I really liked about this one is like from so many other desert pictures, this one feels very, I don't know, warm, hot, the red colors, the stones are really emphasizing that almost alien planet Mars-like vibe, it feels hostile. There's a reason why they built it, I assume, constructed this building there, is because it's warm, the sun is always shining. So that was the reason why I went with that one. But of course you can go with other colors as well. I'm pretty sure like here, these ones are more like yellowish. I don't know, although like the desert itself is also more red, but it's just the buildings that are more like, I don't know, brownish. So yeah, trying to if you work with references, it really helps with achieving that realistic feel to it. Going maybe color pick. I wouldn't color pick from this one because it's a photograph. Unlike artists, like a camera tends to make everything contrasty, so it pimps up the darker values in the middle ground, in the background, which isn't realistic because this is far away is far away from us, so the darkest value shouldn't be as dark as the ones in the foreground. It's something to bear in mind, because I noticed here you've got a lot of like almost black shadows. It's only for the foreground, because of these shadows, I've got the feeling that this building is very nearby, super close to us. almost like I don't know. I'm terrible with pronouncing that. But a miniature.
Yeah, miniature. Yeah.
Yeah. What's like a small little construction, like
Yeah.
we are the giant, we're just looking over it. So using references, don't be afraid to photo bash if it helps with speeding up the process. Have a foreground, helps with pushing that forge more towards the back, to your middle ground. I added here a little cute character. It always helps. No, actually, it's very important that if you create like a massive building or whatever, it's important that we've got scale references as well. But that's also part of your design, because I also wanted to talk about that one. Currently, it's a super unique original idea, but it feels a little bit too random. To me, the purpose of the building is not very, how do you say it, like clear to me.
Yeah.
What is it meant for? Is it like powering a city? Is it like I don't know, like is there like factory for giants? Are they like forged or weapons or whatever? I don't know. Currently, it's not really clear. The purpose of this building isn't really clear to me. If you do that, like also like your building itself, it just feels a little bit like a spaceship landed on the moon, and it's random. It doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Like here, the tunnel, it doesn't. It feels more like a rabbit hole rather than. No. But that's a thing that we can
Yeah.
that really can help pushing the design. If you go with tunnels, make sure it's the same people that made those tunnels. Which made the tunnels are the same people that made this big building over here. So that was the first thing. Like maybe have some really like well engineered tunnels as well there. And then I was thinking, like, if this is on planet Earth, I guess we only have one sun. So maybe what we can do, unless this is an alien planet or a fantasy planet or in another universe, but then I would show that in the background, that maybe we can see other planets or whatever. Just make it clear to your art director or the gamer or the viewer that this is happening on an alien planet and not like planet Earth. So if this is planet Earth, I just based myself on that one. I would just go with one big magnifying glass, which rotates around the axis of the building. Might be a cool idea. I like that idea of like having a thing, rotating with the sun. It's super cool. I didn't have the time to proper think about where to place buildings and such and stuff like that. But what I should do is, if you look to this, for example, see a city over here, but there are roads leading to that city. This is not a city, this is a forge, like some sort of a factory or whatever, but still having some vehicles, having some life there really helps with like making it a little bit more alive, this piece. And giving it more of a purpose rather than just a random building in a desert, because it's such a cool idea, but I think we can push it a little bit further just by adding extra things, such as vehicles, roads, also like maybe have some gates there. Now the building has, other than these tiny windows here, it doesn't really have any entrances, or I just wonder like how do they enter the building? How do they enter? How do they go to this little cute room, which is here? Maybe also like when it comes to design, you don't have to do it like I did it over here, but maybe bring back this green roof elsewhere in the building. I didn't like this, but maybe it can be, I don't know, man. Maybe it can be. Let me see if my brush works. Maybe there are like little towers here on this construction.
Oh yeah, like little watchtowers or something.
Watchtowers or something like just I don't know. What? Because I'm pretty sure like there's much more going on than just a main building. Maybe have some vehicles riding in. I'm not sure if this is a sci-fi scene. I just copied and pasted from this image I found over here. But gather yourself some references and get really inspired by those references. I kind of like this thing, it's like I don't know, like this thing in the desert, and there's something going on. You've got tubes there, you've got gates. So try to do something very similar. The round shape. If you don't know random stuff, maybe this road is going around this building. Maybe here through this, I don't know, arch, underneath this arch, and maybe in the back there's another city. You remember when I mentioned like giving it more of a purpose? Maybe it's a city. Maybe this thing is like powering this is like, I don't know, maybe their source of energy is the lava or what, the melted thing that the thing is melting. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, collecting solar energy.
Exactly, solar energy. Yeah, that's a cool thing. Have a city there which is powered by. Just tell that to your viewer. Tell what it does. That's super important as well. And let me see what else. The perspective. Make sure the perspective is on point. See, there's something else I wanted to. I forgot.
Is it one of your notes? Did you make notes at the top of this one?
Yeah, maybe. Let me see. I think that was it. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the frame in the foreground, but I already covered it. Yeah, the things like so. I think I've seen your art station, and it's a little bit of a shame you didn't show that as well with this piece, because it did some very great research on how the thing is rotating.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's cool to include, because if this is concept art, make sure that you're telling the purpose of this piece, but also like for now, your image, your illustration is 70% desert and 30% or even 20% the building, which is important. Maybe have a zoom in, maybe have a close-up of the actual building. Can help as well. But if you want to show the city and the purpose, then of course we can have more environment, but then really add that city here in the background. You use that empty space that you have in your opportunity, in your benefit, like your advantage to show the purpose of it. And that's about it, I guess. Any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, Gabrielle, if you have any questions, then feel free to ask away, and we'll do what we can. We have about 15 minutes left, so I don't know if there's time to squeeze in another one if you're feeling up for it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, let's see what takes your fancy. But they have questions about the cogs, so about the gears at the top. Yeah, fire away. What's the question? Mr. Kent, what I'll do is before we do the streams, I'll message people if their pieces got selected for the critique. So if you didn't get picked this time, then you can always.
I also saw like just to quickly come to it, but I also saw some cool character designs. For me, it's very difficult to provide any feedback to that if I don't really know the intended art direction for those, and the type of game that you're trying to make this character for. So without like a little more background, it's a little bit hard for me to give like very specific feedback, because what I can do is like I can provide feedback on like anatomy, but that's for a concept art piece. It shouldn't be really about anatomy, I guess. And that was the main reason why I didn't show characters, because next time I would love to cover some character designs, but a little bit more information would be more than welcome. Like, is it meant for mobile game? Is it meant for a console game? What is the art direction of the game that you have in mind, or the main reference for that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of comes down to the more detail you can, the more detail you can give us, the more helpful we can be. So yeah, really dig deep. I can filter through a paragraph if I need to, but but you know, more details the better. The question was, I wanted to ask, do you think it's a good idea to make the gears or cogs at the top pop more with values? I just want to make the whole structure pop out, if that makes sense. That's why I added the dark cliffs behind, but they don't walk.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That was what I was thinking about. Why you went so dark. First of all, going with like having having like some sort of gas shadow spelled over the building really helps with like making those making that magma pop, you know, or that melted gold. It really helps. But then the concept of your building doesn't make any sense anymore, because this building is lit by the sun. That's the whole purpose of this building. The sun should be reaching to this building. Of course, there are ways. Of course, 3DI, or to play with contrast and to make it pop more. Is playing like with having the background, for example, having a shadow cast over the background, maybe because now it's lit by the sun, but maybe there are clouds casting a shadow, so the background becomes darker, and only the building is lit by the sun. Helps. Let me see if I find some references. This is actually a trick that many artists tend to do. Environments, concepts. Oh, if you are really interested in going to environment designs and building designs, take a look to the artwork from some video games, like Uncharted, for example, has amazing concepts to get really inspired by. They also have a making of the game, and I'm pretty sure the artist worked on that one. Also have tutorials, doing some research. Yeah, here for like this is a good example. Game. Let me see if I can. It's a classic one, you know, like it's a dark environment, and the artist is using the light source, like the sun, to really make the most important thing in his image pop, you know. It's a dark environment, but still like the sun, you know, is helping with that one. So what we could do with this one, I'll try to do a very little quick paint over it, see what we can do. Let's say we've got this one. My zoom isn't working anymore. Strange. Well, that's yeah. What? I'm gonna close it down. Oh, damn. You know what it might be? I spilled some water over my keyboard.
When?
During lunch. So I need to buy like a new flask, you know. This one is leaking, or drinking, or like spilling over. What's happening?
Come on.
Yeah, my keyboard is more. So let's do it with images. Actually, let's watch through this Uncharted.
Oh man, that's funny.
They're so expensive, these Apple keyboards.
Yeah. Just a couple drips of water and it's all gone.
Maybe we should ask the sponsor of the day, Mooncolony.
Yeah. I can't wait until we get our own Mooncolony branded keyboards.
Oh yeah, I cannot even type anymore. Damn, so maybe let's see if I can do some.
Wait, you can't even type?
Yeah, I cannot type, man. It's not working. Let's see. Let me see. Maybe it's something stupid. Maybe it's just a battery.
I was gonna say, is it wireless? It could just be maybe the battery's dead.
It's wireless, yeah. But it's weird though, because it just recharged the whole thing. But let me double check. Sorry, guys.
No, you're
Apple.
right.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Good ad. It's a good ad.
Yeah, the sponsor of the day, Apple. No, it's not working. I mean, you still get this image here, but what I want to say is like if you really want to make your forge pop, yeah, use the background to your advantage. Darken the background so that the building itself is only maybe lit by the sun. So the foreground is dark, the background is dark, but only that area where the building is at can be lit by the sun, like we saw over here in that illustration.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good point. Under Raven said it's time to use that juicy voice search feature.
What is it?
There's the Google like voice search.
Did I say some rude things or?
No. Google has like a voice search. So you click like a microphone and you can search using your voice. Like
in Google, yeah, because I got here
yeah.
some chat rules popping up out of the blue.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Maybe I said some things, frustrating. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Does it work? Hello.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice. All right. Now with my crappy English, I'm not sure it will. What I'm trying to say here. All right. Let's see. All right. Uncharted. No.
All right.
No, everything is can't read anymore. Uncharted concept art. Nice.
Oh, perfect. So
yeah,
it works.
These
Thanks,
work
Google.
are made. Just thank you very much. Yeah, look, you'll notice that these artists, they work with a 3D base. I think you did the same thing. You had a 3D base, but then they used photos like photo details like textures, just to make these images look more realistic. Yeah, do that as well. Like, don't be afraid to photo bash. Download some texture brushes. Really learn those brushes and learn how to work with them. We got some very cool free to download brushes out there. We'll check that one. I like this one. There's a making of. There's like a tutorial of this one. I think I've seen that one before. This one is mainly just painted in photo bashing. I think there was a 3D base. I can't remember. I think it was. Just study how these super senior artists are creating these pieces and try to do the same. And this one was also super cool.
Yeah.
Again, a dark foreground, which helps leading the eye towards this entrance, which is the most important part of your image. That's an old trick. But yeah, was there anything else? I don't know.
We have. We have questions about portfolios, but I think that's probably better suited for next week. I think. Christina said we want less art and more Joris versus technology. No, I think that's it really. So to kind of summarize that last bit, to make their original question was about how they could make those gears stand out at the top without making the background black.
Are the gears the important thing in your image? That's something you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Because here, this image serves more as a concept art piece, so it's more about the whole idea.
Yeah.
I know as a beginner artist, it's easy to get lost into detail, in very especially small details that really don't matter. Gears doesn't matter. It matters more in your individual prop designs, or more detailed environment building designs. But when you create like a mood illustration, a mood concept art piece, then detail isn't really that important. It's more about like the overall design, the overall thing, the moods that you're trying to set. A little bit very similar to what I said for that first piece from Ham.
Yeah.
It's also about color and lighting. What moods do you want to achieve with this piece? rather than the small details. You do that with individual designs more with than with this type of illustration assets.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, Underraven has an interesting question. So we've talked about, like you mentioned, photo bashing quite a bit today. And Underraven asked, like, do employers sort of care about how much photo bash somebody uses in a piece? So, like, as an art director, sort of how do you feel about, if someone came to you with like loads of photo bash?
It depends. It really depends. If this is an illustration, try to hide your photo bashing as much as possible. If this is a concept art piece, remember when doing concept art in a studio, everything is about speed. You need to create these images super fast, and photo bashing is just a technique to speed up the process. So yeah, there are amazing environment artists that can work super well with brushes with no photo bashing at all. It's up to the artist where you want to improve at. But yeah, for concept art, whatever works to make this process goes faster, whatever helps you to work faster, that's about it, to be honest. Art directors don't give much about like how you achieve it, as long as it's more important if you can achieve it, what you need to achieve. And remember, concept art is not about creating only beautiful images. It's about ideation more than anything else, Are you as an artist creative enough to come up with original ideas? That's important. Of course, like if you can make these images look more believable and make it look more realistic, it really helps selling that as well. Because depending on the game, to be honest, like if this was an asset for a realistic game, yeah, photo bashing absolutely helps, because you don't want to draw and paint every window in a building. You want to be fast and just experiment with textures and photos, photo bashing and such. But if this is, for example, if this is a stylized piece, let's say for Ratchet and Clank or whatever, that photo bashing becomes a little bit more difficult because everything in that illustration is all about stylization. And maybe there are some techniques, maybe you can photo bash, but you still need to change that image completely, just to make it look more stylized.
So yeah, it really does come down to whether it saves you time and fits thematically with the rest of the image. So as you said, you could photo bash a thing to fit Ratchet and Clank, but you're going to spend more time wrestling with the photo than you would just drawing it in the first place.
Yeah, that as well, but I'm not sure if the environments in Ratchet and Clank are that realistic. It feels realistic because of the lighting and the race was that ray tracing stuff. But it is because of the textures that they use. The textures that they're using are still stylized.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then what comes to, let's say, what's the most important feedback about that piece is it's more about like how can we make it look less random, just like extend the architecture elsewhere, put a city there, give it a little bit more background and purpose, and then that's about it. But yeah, don't be bothered too much for concept art about the little details here. It's not really important. The building is back anyway, so as a viewer, we cannot see that far the distance, so we won't see any detail there.
Yeah. I mean, you can still tell what they are and what their purpose is for anyway. So
yeah, your brain's making up that anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's the gaps,
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we've got for today from you, Joris. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been
now I realize an hour is very short, like
yeah, an hour is not very long, but
yeah, thanks for having me, and I hope I was a little bit useful here. I hope I helped you guys out. I'll share the quick rough paint overs. I'm not sure if it's really helpful, but I'll share it anyways in this a little bit. With those notes that I mentioned.
yeah,
looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say next week we have Leonie back with us on Tuesday, which is nice. So Leonie's back with us on Tuesday doing more portraits because they were a lot of fun and really relaxing last week. So we thought, let's do some more. Spooky season's not quite over
Yeah,
yet. I refuse to let
yeah,
go.
yeah. I will have a portrait of
Do,
myself,
do you want one? We can see about getting you one. Don't worry. I'll see what I can do. Um,
nice.
and then on Thursday we have portfolio reviews. So we've got the lovely Rin coming on to do some portfolio reviews for us. So on Monday, I'll open up submissions on Discord. So if you're not part of our Discord community, then please do join. It's a lovely group of people in there. We're in the voice chat pretty much every day, and it's where we list all of our upcoming events and where you can submit your artwork for critique, like today, and your portfolios for critique or for review next week. But other than that, stick around. I'll find someone for us to raid. But until then, I'll see you next time. So, bye
Hey,
everybody.
see you next.
Bye.
Bye bye.